Okay, so composite functions, f of g. So when you see this open circle, this means composition. So it looks like the letter O, but it's not. This is the symbol for composition. When you compose two functions, you take one function and put it into another. So composition is putting a function inside another function. That's what composition is. When we compose. Okay, so when you see this open circle in your homework and on the quiz next week, we're going to actually put, this means put G into F. But let's do A, B, and C first. These are pretty basic. So we have two functions. Our first function is f of x. And our second function is g of x. So for this first one, am I using the yellow or the green? Which one am I using? The yellow function, the f of x function, and you're going to put the -1 in for x. So f of -1, the biggest mistake is typing it in your calculator like that. If you type that, you shouldn't even need a calculator for this. Let's just start with that. But if you do use a calculator and you're squaring a negative, you have to put parentheses around it. So the answer would be 1. For question B, we're using g of x. So we're going to put, in place of x, we're going to put in a 7. -2 times 7, which would be a -14. So the f function says take your input and square it. The g function says take the input and multiply it by -2. So for C, I'm going to take 3x and square it. So 3x and square it. What do you think you get when you take 3x squared? What did you say? 9 and x what? Squared. Good. So you're squaring both of these. So that would be 9x squared. All right. So what this means, when you see this symbol, this means put g of x into f of x. So what I'm going to do is, this is my f of x function, which says take something and square it. The something that I'm going to square is g of x. So the something that I'm going to square is -2x. Go ahead and take -2x and square it. And what is -2x squared? (4x squared). That's it. I know we haven't mathed in a week, so we kind of like don't feel confident. But you got it.
Why are you doing this substitution, basically?
I didn't hear you.
Why are you doing this substitution?
That's what composition is.
Okay.
Substituting. So instead of saying putting a function, you could say substituting a function. All right, same two. Oh, no, sorry, different. So let's look at example 2. Go ahead and copy down. We have a new f of x and a new g of x. And we're doing 4 different compositions. So whatever comes first, so notice how in this first one, first of all, notice that I'm putting an X. These are a little different because we have numbers. So we're going to do these differently. These three differently. But this first one, where it's just an X, we're going to create a new function. And the way we're going to create a function is by substituting. So I'm going to take g of x, and I'm going to substitute it inside the f of x. That's what's happening here. So my f function says x squared plus 1. So I'm going to write this with parentheses. So instead of x squared, I'm going to put parentheses squared plus 1. Because that's what my f function says. My f function says take x and square it and add 1. Now inside of the parentheses, put g of x, which is x minus 3. So now we have to do some algebra, because you have to square x minus 3. Now, when you square something, the way you all probably do it is you probably would make a box. Does anyone know the pattern without making a box? Can you multiply that without making a box? No? All right, so then make a box. If you do know it, then you can save yourself 60 seconds, but if you don't, make your box and multiply it out. The biggest mistake is thinking that you can just do this. Everybody look at the screen. You cannot just say that this is x squared plus 9. That is wrong. X minus 3 times x minus 3 is not x squared plus 9. You need to multiply it out if you don't know the pattern. So go ahead, fill in your 4 squares. And when you combine your like terms, these two are like terms. So when you take x minus 3 times x minus 3, you actually get x squared minus 6x plus 9. And then you add that 1 at the end. Do you have any like terms that you can add together? 9 and 1. And what is 9 plus 1? 10. So your final answer, I'll write it at the top, is x squared minus 6x plus 10. So I'll give you a second to copy that down, and then I will have to erase some of that to do the next question. All right, let's look at question B. Question B is a little easier because you're not creating a function. So we're going to start off by, first of all, we're only using the g function. We're not using the f function. So we're going to start off with this. So step number 1 is to find g of 3. So go ahead and find g of 3. How would you find g of 3? What would you do? Substitute 3 into the g function. So what do you get when you substitute 3 into your g function? 0. Because 3 minus 3 is 0. So now what you're going to do is take that answer that you got, which is 0, and substitute that back into the g function again. So step number 1 is to find g of 3, and then take your answer and put it back into your g function. So now we're going to find g of 0. And that would be 0 minus 3, and that would be a negative 3. So So your final answer is -3. So here are your two. So try to do C by yourself. So you're using the F function. See if you can figure out how to do that one by yourself. Anybody have an answer for C? What'd you get, Devin?
26.
That's what I got too. Anybody else get 26? All right, good. Thank you for being brave. All right, let's look at C together. All right, can I take this off? All right, let me go ahead and clear this off. I need some space. Okay, so let's look at C. So for part C, you're going to start by finding f of 2, which is going to be 2 squared plus 1. 2 squared plus 1 is 5. And then you're going to put that back into the f function again. And that would be 5 squared. Did I say 5? I don't know what I said. All right, so your final answer would be 26. And that is C. All right, let's look at question D. So the first thing I want you to do is figure out what g of 4x is. So we're going to put our 4x in. So g of 4x, I'm going to put a 4x in for x, so that would be 4x. And then minus 3. Now, is there anything that I can do here? So I don't have any operation I can do. So this is what I get. This is my answer. And now I'm going to take that answer and put it back into the g. So that's my first answer. Now we're going to take that and put it back into your g function again. So that would be 4x minus 3, and then minus 3 again. Now, do you have any like terms for part D for that one? Is there anything we can do? We can combine our -3, so your final answer would be 4x minus 6. All right, let's go ahead and copy down these two functions. And we're going to do our compositions. All right, go ahead and copy down these two. Notice how we have an x, so we're creating a new function. And this is what this is the meaning of this. So f open circle g of x means put g inside f. Or you can say substitute, Josh. Substitute g inside f, if that's a better. And then g of f, g open circle f, is put or substitute f of x inside g of x. So I'll give you a second to copy that down, and then we'll do our two compositions. So what I like to do is I look at what comes first, and then this first one, see how the f comes first? I like to rewrite it with parentheses. So I'm going to take the f function and rewrite it with the parentheses. So instead of x squared plus 5, I'm going to write it as parentheses squared plus 5. And then inside of the parentheses, I'm going to put my g of x. And now we simply simplify. So what's going to happen with this one, because I'm squaring a square root? They cancel because they're opposite. So we have x minus 4 plus 5. Combine your like terms, which would be these two. And your final answer is x plus 1. And that's it. Okay, so now for this one, see how g comes first? So I'm going to rewrite this function, and I'm going to put parentheses where I have an x. So for this one, I have a square root, and then under the square root, I have an x, so I have parentheses, minus 4. Now inside of that parentheses, go ahead and put your f function. So now you're going to simplify what's underneath your square root. And notice that there isn't anything on this parentheses. In other words, there's not an exponent, so I can just get rid of the parentheses. So that'll be x squared plus 5 minus 4, which is going to simplify down to x squared plus 1. Now, what I want to make sure you understand is you cannot go any further. So you cannot break this apart and do this. Like, that's not how that works. So your final answer is the square root of x squared plus 1. Okay, we have one more example, I think. We're almost finished. Go ahead and copy down example 4. Let me see. Yeah. So now they're getting just a little bit more complicated. So we have f of g and g of f. And this function, the f function, is a little bit more complicated because there's 2 places where we have x. So when I put the g function inside of f, I'm going to have to put it in 2 places. So again, what this is saying is, this means put g inside of f. That's what this is saying. So I'm going to rewrite f, and I'm going to put parentheses every place that there's an x. So for my f function, it would be 2 parentheses squared, because it's 2x squared, minus 3x plus 4. Now, inside of the parentheses, put your g. And we have to do order of operations. So the first thing you're going to do is figure out what this is. Figure out what x minus 3 squared is. So go ahead and make a box. Multiply x minus 3 times x minus 3. I think we had that same thing in that previous example. So we should be able to do this pretty quickly. All right, so you get 2. I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm doing order of operations. So that would be x squared minus 6x plus 9. And then this is still the x minus 3. So now what are you going to do? Second step is to multiply. So I want you to multiply this first parentheses by 2. The second parentheses, multiply it by negative 3. Go ahead and do that. And then combine your like terms, and you're done. So that would be 2x squared, then 2 times negative 12x. I'm sorry, 2 times negative 6x is negative 12x. 2 times 9 is 18. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Bring down the positive 4. Combine your like terms. So your x's, combine those together. And then your numbers. So. So you get 2x squared minus 15x, and then 18 plus 9 is 27, and 27 plus 4 is 31. Is that what you all got? Okay. So that would be your final answer. Main thing, so some of the big mistakes that I'll see that I don't want you to make is not following order of operations. So you could not, like I couldn't multiply this by 2 and then square it. You have to follow order of operations. So exponent comes before you multiply. So make sure you do that part. I'm trying to think like what are some of the mistakes you might make on the quiz next week, since we're getting really close to the end of the semester. All right, so let's look at part B. Does anyone need more time to copy down part A? So for part B, that's a lot easier because this is saying put the F into G. When we look at our G function, there's not a lot happening. You just have to subtract 3. That's the only thing happening to X, is that I'm subtracting 3. So when I rewrite the G function, I have X minus 3. And now inside of the parentheses, we're going to put our F function, which is 2x squared minus 3x plus 4. So this composition is a lot easier because we don't have a lot left. We don't have a lot to do. So all we have to do is combine our like terms, which in this case is the 4 and the 3, the negative 3. So my final answer would be 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Okay, so I think we're using the same functions. Let's see. Okay. All right, so we can do this 2 different ways. Because we already found the function, we could just substitute for part C and D. We could substitute it into the function that we created. But I think I want to show you another way to do it. We'll just be consistent in the way we did it the last time. So go ahead and copy down C and D. We're using the same functions. So because it's a number, we're just substituting in that number. So for your first one, step 1 is going to be to find. First, you're going to find f of negative 2. And then whatever answer you get, you're going to put that into the G function. So f of negative 2 I'm going to rewrite the f function with parentheses. Go ahead and put in negative 2. So go ahead and use your calculator. I'm going to do it without a calculator. Let's see if we get the same number. Okay, so that would be a 4, 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. All right, so I think it's 18, but make sure. You got 18? Okay. So now you're going to take that answer, 18, and put it into the G function. So we're going to find G of 18. So the G function says x minus 3. So that would be 18 and then minus 3. So your final answer would be 15. That is your final answer. See if you can do part D by yourself. So G of F of -2 equals 15. That's your final answer. So we'll end with D, and then that'll be our last question for today. I think it's 6, but I'm not sure. I'm not using a calculator. But what's your first step? What are you going to do first? What are you going to find? G of 5. So first you're going to put 5 into the G function, and then whatever you get, you're going to put that number into the F function. I forgot the answer I got. Wait a minute, let me do it again. What did I say? 6? Was that the right answer? So when we put 5 into G of 5, that's 5 minus 3, which is 2. And then we need to find F of 2. And that's going to be 2 times x squared minus 3 times 2 plus 4. So I'm going to put that 2 inside. So following order of operations, that would be 2 times 4 minus. So yeah, that would be 2 plus 4, which is 6. And that is your final answer.